So, yes. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the perfect way to waste an otherwise fairly sunny, mostly functional afternoon. This is pretty obscure, so I think there will be plenty of space in the stands for everybody who wants to show look at this. What's the point today? Let me show you what happened a while ago with AMS. Somebody yeah, that's better. Very professional as always. So somebody released the cutest 1991 sort of inspired cars for AMS, and I think for a couple other games as well, which is really neat. Let's just have a quick look at this. Not at Silverstone. So I saw that, you know, even the cockpit looks quite close to the old DOS game. Very cool, the sounds as well. I think they should be quite, not ultra loud for you. A bit-ish. I'm a streamer. No, I'm not. But look at that! Oh, ain't that something, right? Cool. Thing is though, this handles like a modern sim. So what the aim of today is to see if we can get AMS with that cute 1991 sort of inspired Grand Prix circuit car to drive more like, behave more like the old game. And let's start the old game. I have to do it 3 times and then it starts. I don't know why. So I'm using DOSBox X here, which is a little more user-friendly and works fine. So somebody in 1995 made a sort of plugin for F1 Grand Prix GP perf with a big document to go with it. You could actually log telemetry, and it's a bit, you know, you had to use a RAM disk ideally, because all the data logging in 1994-ish was a bit hard on your old 486. But it means we can actually record some telemetry. So let's do that just very briefly before we get into the meat of the video. I have to check something actually. So here we have the setup, which is quite limited in the game. We have wings from 0 to 64, brake balance, tire compounds and gear ratios. That's all we can do, which is nice because that's not hard to copy into AMS, just limiting the options and making sure we have exactly the same gear ratios. More interesting will be though, we want to make the wings match as well, so that our acceleration and top speed will match this old game in AMS. So that's going to be interesting. I just want to see what the idle RPM is, and I want to see if we get a rev limit, what the rev limit is of this car, because one of the things we can also, I think, do is create the engine, recreate the torque curve of this engine. So we have the wing settings that we want to get correct for the top speed, acceleration, engine braking, we should be able to get engine torque curve, so acceleration matters, it matches closely, braking performance hopefully, so it will be those things. G-forces are not logged, so we don't know what the cornering G-forces are. a lot of things aren't logged, so and the handling of course will be very different at the end. It's a fairly stupid exercise, but I did say you were going to waste your afternoon. I didn't overpromise, I don't think. There, making it worse, making myself a little bigger. So steering wise and stuff like that is going to be quite tricky. We don't know what the G-forces are, the tracks are very different, but let's just see if we get the aero, the engine braking, the braking, those things, see if we get it correct. Alright, so I've put in a very low first gear now because I have done a lot of logging already. It's quite boring and it will take hours, so I've spent hours on this already, doing all the logging. Yep. I want to see what revs we do. Very low first gear, because we want to see if we can replicate the torque curve right up to the limit. So I want to see what the idle revs is. And let me also, there, let me delete. So I want to see what the idle revs are, which is what happens now. I think it's, oh wait, I have to enable logging, F7. You see the little blue LED there. Now it's logging data. And first gear, let's just see what it, 100 kilometers an hour. All right, thank you very much. So now we did a bit of data logging. Now I've done a lot of this already. Escape. Exit to DOS, yes, and then run this command, and then yellow, there we are. So it created this actually usable in 2021 log file with the revs and the speed. So we seem to be around 3,500 idle and topping out at about 15.8. So, okay. The torque curve is going down quite sharply. I wanted to know that. So, all right. So idle 3,000, top end 16,000. Okay. What have I done? People. How have I been going about? Well, I was up all night yesterday. Well, not really. I made a little chart here of the wing settings in the game, in the DOS game, and the top speed I did. So for the 64 wing, between 0 and 64. So with 0 you do about 340. I did a little bit of analysis on it. So just at Monza, see how quick I got. So there's a very big drop in top speed when you add the wing. Let's make this actual 64. So at the maximum wing of 64, we only do 260 kilometers an hour. Speed drops a lot, and then at low wings, we have a lot of high speed behavior. We go quite quickly. Thing is as well, front wing does not affect drag, so that's easy. So here we have this curve, how the wing settings affect the top speed of the car. That's something we want to replicate. What I've done, a lot of tests here, all using the logging that we just saw. So this is with 0 wings. I press the clutch at very high speed, 200 miles an hour. So what we get there is drag slowing us down. And I doubt it's modeled, there's no friction, I don't think. So here we see our speed going down with time. I did the same with medium wings, 32, 32, and maximum wings. So we should be able to get an idea of the drag of the car with all these wing settings, hopefully. And I have no idea if it will make sense. It's 1991, the physics will be very simplified, so if we can copy this, I have no idea. I also did an acceleration run here, we still have to graph it, where automatic shifting, which shifts at 12.5, so going up the gears, see how speed increases over time. We want to do that in AMS and have the same acceleration performance, of course. Also, not a third gear run. Here is an acceleration run in fourth gear from very, very low revs, 4,000 revs, all the way up to the rev limit. And I hope this will enable us to make a torque curve of the engine. And here in 4th gear I let go of the throttle, but no clutch in. So here we have the drag plus the engine braking. So perhaps we can find out engine braking as well. I have no idea if that will work, but who knows. All right. I get no warnings. That's pretty good. So engine braking, top speed runs in with various gears, because we want to have top speed matching, of course, as well. And I did a bit of braking at low, medium, and high downforce, so the speed versus the time. And we do see that at high downforce levels, we slow down a little bit quicker than in low downforce levels. The question is, can we do anything, well, to match this really? And how do we go about it then? Well, I haven't really given it any thought, so let's just see what happens here. Of course, we will start with a spreadsheet. This is my the physics that we're going to use. And again, you know, this is fairly, I say modern, 2021, of course. AMS is a few years old, but this takes in account a lot more things that Formula 1 Grand Prix would have done in 1991. So I'm going to make a couple changes here. I've already done a few things. So for example, with the gears, I have already entered the gear ratios that we have available in the game. And then I've changed the final drive and stuff, so we should probably, but we will check that, have the same, like at 200 miles an hour with the same gear ratios. I think we should do the same speed-ish. We'll see, don't know. And I think what I'll do here first is just remove all the frictions. I don't think the game will have rolling resistance. I don't think it will have friction from bearings and stuff like that. So I'm just gonna remove a couple of the frictions. I also won't use any transmission losses. I don't think it has it, you know. We have to start somewhere. So no bearing, well, 0 bearing friction. Difficult brakes, no clutch friction. And engine. Well, I don't know yet. This is the torque curve I'm using now, which is straight from the AMS car. It will not look like this, probably, but what does it look like? Torque. So this is the torque curve now. No idea. I think we'll just have to do a couple of runs. What I'm first gonna do, I think, is see if we can get this curve that is from the old game, that at 64 wing we get the same top speed as the game, and at minimum wing we also get the same top speed. For that we have to start somewhere, and I think I know that the engine has 716 horsepower in the game, with probably a little bit of variable randomness to it, but let's go with 716. And it shifts around 12.5 by itself, so let's say peak power is 12.5. I don't know that, really don't, actually. And we want that curve to end at 16,000. So I just have to go with a torque curve and a power level. The weight of the car doesn't matter for the ultimate top speed. It just takes longer to get there. Well, in reality, it does make a little difference. Rolling resistance is a function of weight, but we're gonna disable that anyway. So let's make a torque curve randomly-ish that, let's see, that peaks out at 12.5. Something like that, 12.5, and then maximum, yeah, let's make peak torque here. See, are you guys bored yet? I hope you are. 98, 96, 90, 85, 40, 0. All right. And then we have to see what my peak power is. I don't actually calculate that. Oh, actually I do. Nice. So this will be the power. Oh, wait. Just the power levels that I'm quickly calculating in this quite messy spreadsheet. So we want 716 horsepower. That's already something. All right, I'm just going for the 716. 100%. Oh, there's no losses there for 20. 19 for 18. Okay, now we have at 12.5, we have 715 our power. Does that work? I think so. 12.5. Yeah, it grows a little bit. So yeah, now at 12.5, 13, 725. We still have a little bit too much. What's going on? Yada yada. See, this is very exciting, isn't it? It's gonna be roughly like that. Let's just see where this lands us. It does its own interpolation and we are at a little higher, 718. Something like that. Okay, now we have roughly the power levels I think the game has. So what is the drag going to be? Well, here I've done a little calculation. When I enter the drag, it will give me a top speed. So what I can do here in the spreadsheet, which is very confusing, but we'll see, change the drag levels as you increase the wings. And we can see that the relationship is very non-linear. We also know that the front wing does not add drag. So I have no idea what sort of downforce and stuff we have. So first thing I'm going to do is remove all the complicated bits, because I don't know what it is. So we're going to just remove ride height sensitivity. The game won't have ride height, let alone sensitivity. No, none of that. No stalling. No stalling. We have no lift height. Very, very simple, just a downforce number. All right, so that gives us a very simple aerodynamics profile. And this is not automated quite. What I can do here, this curve here, the red one, is how the rear wing changes in downforce and drag. So this curvature is something that we can set. And then I look at the drag, which will be here. This can be 0. All right. So let's change the wings to be 1 and 1. We have to offset it by 1 because in the game, in the old game, DOS game is 0 to 64. We start at 1, so it's 1 to 65. So with 1, 1, that's the minimum wing. And this is our drag, 0.62 something. We want to see what our top speed will be. So I enter the drag, 0.62 basically. Is there still something going on? Drag grows a little. Perhaps it is because... No, why does drag go up a little bit? Why does it do that? I don't know really why it does that. It's quite minimal though. It's with the pitch. Let's see. I don't really know why the drag seems to go up slightly from 0.61 to 0.63 actually. We are not doing that, we are not doing any of that. I don't know, let's forget about those details for now. Let's say we have 0.6237 drag. So we enter that. And you see if I enter 0.5, the estimated top speed here, it's pretty small, 366. So 0.6, 0.62. Okay, well, randomly this is all right, because we want to be at 340. And we currently, with minimum wing, we have this drag, 0.6237. Entering that, with no losses, with 716 horsepower, we do get 340, so that's fine. And then with wing 20, let's add those wings, 20, 20, and let's add that to the chart. So on the horizontal we have the wing, and on the vertical we have the speed. There we go. So we have to make this match. Wings 20, currently 0.6803, so I enter that. All right, that's not too bad. And then wings 45. I know the hinge in the door. It's quite stuck in there, I think. I can't just push it down, need like a hammer and things like that. Next wing setting 45. 45 gives us 0.7675. And then the final wing is 65. So we give the spreadsheet, look at my downforce and drag with wing 65. We have 0.8477. All right, so currently you can see that the top speed of the game, the old DOS game, drops a lot at high wing settings, and we don't have that at all. We need to adjust the wing behavior in order to get an estimated top speed, because we enter the power here, and like I said, power and drag is enough to compute the top speed. Weight doesn't really matter, so we're not doing too well. One thing to know at first, we do not want the front wing to add any drag, so the front wing does not add any drag. The rear wing must add a lot more drag, and it also has to come in, like the drag has to grow a lot in the higher settings. So we can do that by having more drag, the added drag when we increase the wing settings, I don't know, 0.4. And then the shape, minus 100. Probably, no idea. Let's, fairly tedious, let's do that again. So now we still have wing 65. It now estimates 1.02. Let's enter that, 1.77. Okay, we're still not there, but you know, we are approaching what we aim for. So let's do that again. Geez, the drag that this rear wing adds is of course unrealistic. The cars in the highest downforce in 1991 probably did 290 at Monaco or Adelaide. So being able to go as slow as 260 with a Formula 1 car means a huge amount of drag. So it's not realistic. Point 0.5, so now we have all right, so let me just see, still not enough. It's really, really, really insane. What do we need? So we need a drag of 1.4 to match the wing setting 65, currently 1.2. So I just keep adding drag with the rear wing. Okay. So 0.78 of drag gives us this. Okay. Next wing setting is 45. 45. What do we have now? It is so curved, this, that I'm not sure if we can match it. Wow. Okay, that's not good. Is my curvature the wrong way? Oh yes. My curvature is the wrong way. Let's see, what do we get? What do we need? 1.2. Oh. It isn't. Wow, I need like 0.85-ish. Okay. Can I even... I don't think it's possible. What is the most... Unless we also... Yeah, we don't really know that. So already... Well, who says already? We're quite a while in this stream. We struggle to match that extreme curvature that we see. With the wing adding so much drag that we cannot quite copy that in the game, I'm afraid. Because the drag levels needed are just changing too much with high wing angles. So I think the most we can do, well, I can cheat, but then I think we're gonna have some really weird behavior. Insane, isn't it? The drag goes from 0.85 at 45 wing to 1.4 at 65. That's just not doable. So let's sort of, you don't really use that high wing anyway, because it gives you such a low top speed. Let's make something a bit in between, see what we can do. So, again, for 45, our target is 0.85. We currently have 0.91. Okay, now we would have that point there. And what is our wing now at 65? We will be way off. So already we are failing at copying the game because we only have this amount of drag. That curvature is something we cannot quite follow, sadly. And that's the thing. Do you want to match it all right for the first little bit? Or you want to match, we can match the endpoints, but then the middle will be screwed up. I think since we will never use more than such a high rear wing anyway, that we're going to focus on the middle a little bit more. 20. And of course we have to test this. Geez, it's going to be a long ass stream. So yeah, you can actually pull the data from JSON from the game. There is telemetry logging with an old program that was released for the DOS game, and it gives you, it logs data. You can make a CSV file from it and you get time and revs and speed. Quite neat. So 20 wings. Is there no way I can get more drag to be added like that? I don't think there is. So what do you want to do? That's a bit annoying, isn't it? .12, yes. 1 is 6.2, that's good. See? ideally I'd automate something here that will just look at the wing settings that I need and then give me this curve. But hey, we can't really do that. We know 1 is always good, that's fine. And then we go to, well, actually it can be a little bit lower. So like that, 1, 1, 1. I'm sorry guys, this is really even more boring than I thought it would be. Something like that. All right. 2020. Most obscure content of the year. Okay, 45, 45. And 65, 65. So this is kind of what we have to end up with. We have matching, reasonably matching curves with the blue is the game, red is will be AMS, but we cannot quite follow the extreme curvature. So we will go too fast at maximum rear wing and a bit too slow from 30 to 50-ish rear wing. So that's about it. Or I could actually say, let's forget about these high rear wings and let's try this one more time. Gives us 0.7053. And then 45, 45 gives us 0.9. Now it just slopes down a bit too much. I'm gonna forget about the high. I'm just decided to forget about the high wing settings. Oh man, what have I done? This is gonna be so boring. Yes, 45, almost there, almost there. 0.84. Yes, and then 65, 1.0. Okay, this is something I'm more happy with. We have a good match all the way until rear wing 45, and then the drag grows immensely in the old DOS game, and we cannot do that. But I don't think we will ever run more than 40 something rear wing anyway. So that's what I'm happy with. However, yeah, there is a real lack of fire, blood, and explosions in this stream. But hey. We can actually now see if we can check this, right? So this spreadsheet predicts we will do these speeds, but we have yet to check to see if my spreadsheet even works. So let's save, always very, very important. General, save. And let's fire up AMS, see if we can actually so funny that YouTube now says my chat has disconnected and it says my stream health is, you don't know. Anyway, it seems to be still kind of working. I got no chat anymore, but who knows what's actually going on. Let's launch AMS. We just saved the vehicle. So let's do a run at those wing settings, see what we get. It could have been, of course, that YouTube is so intelligent that it disconnected the dangerously boring streams. So let's go to damn straight. So this is the time where the spreadsheet has to do its thing. Wing 1, and let's see what gear ratio I had. I'm fairly sure VMAX 66, 64. Okay, so gear 66, 64. We will also check the revs. See how that works. Well, see if we can get 339-ish. Oh, I think we'll go too quick. No. Oh, don't want to steer. It's 37. Ah, it's pretty close. Just let me reduce that and also set steering rate. So once more. 6th gear, time acceleration. 337. Ah, it's fairly close, right? Okay, now with 20. Well, let's just skip to 45. We got to be fairly crude. Actually, 32 is what I measured. 32. See what we get there. I hope it will be fairly close. Sorry, 33. We have to be one more than the game. With the gearing that I used, 63, 64. Let's see what I do. $317. All right, let's just have a brief look at the data, see what we get. Properties. I want to see the revs as well, and the ground speed in miles per hour. Excellent. So now I have my revs and my speed, and I want to see what we do. So we do 209. We have 13,000 RPM. I think that's a little on the high side because with F1GP VMAX I did 12.8. So I run a few too many revs in AMS than I would have done in the old game. But the top speed is the same, so that's great. And the 32 run. Here are the log data from the DOS game. And now let's see what that gave us. 195, 13,000. And we saw 195, 12.5. So I need to run a few less revs. In fact, let's say numlock, scroll lock, what is this? I've broken the spreadsheet. .96. Okay, that's roughly what I'm gonna do to the gears. Yeah. So I need to go faster with the same revs. Like that. Okay. Save. Do another run with 32. All right. So now with the new gear ratio that I slightly adjusted, what do we get now? There will be a slight probable difference because in AMS, being a real sim, the tire gets squished and smaller from the downforce. And I don't think that's programmed in the DOS game. $198.12.7 versus... Okay, we do the correct speed. 12.7, 198. Is that perfect? It's perfect. So we have matched with medium downforce the speed and the revs. So our gearbox and final drive and tire dimension is perfect now. So whatever speed and revs you do in the DOS game will be identical to the sim. Probably not perfect at low and high downforce because we get tire squish, which makes the wheel smaller and the revs a little bit different at the same speed. But that's something you cannot really do. I can make the tires grow, but that would be so anal that everybody would leave, including me. All right, so we've done that. That's great. What I haven't done yet is the top speed. Well, we've done it for 32. So here we are arrow. So I've done a test here at 0 and at 32. We sort of matched, and I'm sure it's fine for 45. Let's just do a quick run at 45, see if we get what we predicted. I'm gonna go a little bit smaller. The gears. With 45 wings, another little tick on the gears. Yeah, leaving my own stream because it's too boring. I think that will be a first. .36, 37, 39. That's about it. 309. And we predicted, look at that, 307 is what we predicted, and I do 309, so that's close enough. So between 0 and 45 wings, we have matched the game, and just after that, but you don't use higher wings than that in the DOS game anyway. So that's great. Gives us our drag, right? Next, acceleration, which hopefully gives us a torque curve. So let's see what we can do there. We should have the right power. We have the right revs. First I should make auto shift because that's easiest to do with tests like these. Use auto gears so it shifts at the same point all the time. I know it shifts. Oh, how does my spreadsheet work, guys? Rev limits. Well, 16,000. Idle was 35. Something like that. Whoa, 35,000. That's a high idle. Oh yeah, +1. Well, anyway, we're close enough. I see people are paying attention in chat. That's very nice. I hope I do one day. All right. What I have to do is set the shift point now, and I am not quite sure how my logic works because I don't use auto shift all that much. 0.985. Let's see. Oh man, this is a lot more boring than I ref limit. I think it works. Oh, let's see. So if I want to shift at 12,500 and my rev limit is 16,000, that's 0.78. Let's just see if that works. Upshift at 0.78 of rev limit. Nice thing, you don't have to restart the game, just make sure we are auto shifting. And, well, I don't know. Yeah. I think it shifts too early there. Data tells us there's an ambulance coming to collect somebody who watches this stream who's fainted. Oh, actually, okay, yeah, we shift at 12.5, so that logic is correct. It doesn't sound right, but I don't think I'm gonna fix the sound. The pitch of the engine sound isn't quite correct, but we shift at 12.5, which should be all right. Although to get the torque curve, I just want to leave it in 4th gear, where we know the drag is probably okay. You know, ish. And then see if we get the same acceleration. That's what I'm gonna do. And the 4th gear would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 46, 64. with accelerate in fourth, 32 wings. So now that drag is probably cool. In fourth gear with 33 plus 1 wings, we want to see what sort of acceleration curve we get. Oh yeah, without auto shifting, of course. Now we want to leave it in fourth gear. Okay, very low speed. Now flooring it in fourth gear, which I've also done in the DOS game. All right, that gives us that. And what I'm gonna do now is export it. Here's another one. I think this is export that. I think we can get rid of this. Here's probably just another run that we don't need. Hopefully. Data. Man, what have I done? Yep, load. Oh, that's very sad, guys. This is really sad. Apparently there are 100 people really wasting their afternoon now. Wow. I also kind of forget that that you guys are here, so I'm sort of speaking rubbish to myself, but I'm actually doing it to you. So yeah, what I've just done, put the car in fourth gear from really low RPM, and then floored it, and then we see the speed go up until the engine runs out of steam. I've also done this for the DOS game, so ideally we would overlay this, and then we can see at which revs do we get the same speed and acceleration, and I think we can actually make a torque curve. So let's see if we can export this from about here. Well, we don't need it all. Something like that. Okay. Component, export the data. Yes, to a CSV file. 10 Hz is fine. With time and yeah, that's probably good. Okay, so now we should have, just open that file that we just exported from the telemetry. All files. All right, so here we have what we just did. Revs, time, up until 14.6. Let's copy that and then paste it here. So this is the DOS game. Let's make it red, DOS. And in order to overlay, well, what I want to do is have a RPM axis really. So we can do a few things. Let's create offset 1. Plus that. In order, we can do a couple of overlays here. All right, is speed and RPM. So what I can do is time and speed from the DOS game here. I can already see might not even be terrible. Insert a little chart. Like that. Right, so this is the blue line is DOS. And add our just recently done AMS run. With time, with an offset so we get a better match, perhaps we can tweak that. And speed in miles an hour. All right, what do we get? Okay, this is cool. So the reason I put an offset in here, so I can offset the telemetry. Oh shit, look at that. Our torque curve is actually quite good already. Anyway, I put an offset in here. So here we pasted the data from the AMS export, and we have a little time offset so we can match. I did not expect it to be, you know, what's actually really cool. Let me just finish, you know, finish what we're doing. A little offset here so we can have the correct starting point, but then the axis always goes wobbly on us. Yeah, a bit bigger, and then force it to not go negative. Okay. So with the offset, we can set the start point quite well. And let's also add a legend, because I'm in possession of a lot of things, but not a memory. Legend on the right. So AMS, tiny font. So in AMS, we can see that we accelerate quicker than the DOS game, initially at low revs. And then it's quite reasonable. So we have too much torque in AMS at low revs. However, we can also change this axis to not be time, but revs. Ooh, and then this one is time revs. Why is this? Ooh, that's not really very useful at all, is it? Let's not do that. Let's just look at time and speed. We can, however, see that at about, you know, between 0 and like between 40 miles and 90 miles, I'm too quick, right? So what sort of revs is that? 90 miles an hour is 8,000 revs. So until 8,000 revs, I need to reduce my torque. So let's just do that. Torque, we don't need these curves here. So until 8,000, I have too much torque. So let's make that, I don't know, I have no idea. Let's make it 60. 60. Something like that. This looks really weird, but now we've changed the torque curve at the revs that we are too quick. So I think if we just do a couple of runs, and then actually we have to see where it ends up. I end up a itty bit slower. So that could either be, well, what sort of revs are we doing? So we are losing from 160-ish onwards. So after 160, we are doing 14,000 RPM. So either I have too little power from that point onward, because it's fine. What's 12.5? 12.5 happens at 140-ish. So that's probably good. So perhaps we have too much power drop off at 14-ish. So we can also change that. Right spreadsheet, please. Yes. So 14, yeah, our torque is dropping like crazy, right? So I don't know. Let's make this 60 and this something like that. Let's try this. So what we've changed to the torque curve now. Save that. Save that. Is here the acceleration comparison. Blue is the DOS game. We are accelerating too quickly until about 90, which is about until 8,000 revs. So I lowered the torque of the engine in low revs. Then we're good-ish, and then we start to lose again from 12, 13,000, and I gave the engine more power there. Let's do another run and do another comparison. 32, 42, yeah, still good. All right. Fourth gear, flat out. You could hear that. Okay, now we're going too quickly, I think. But that's fine. We can work our way back from that. Open again this log file so we can do another overlay from about here to something like that. Okay, component export. It's still open. Yes, it is. Close that. Export. Yes, please. Replace. Thank you very much. Well, let's open it again, see what we get. Copy. I'll just add another little line here. With another offset. So this will be the first. And this will be the, well, that's really ugly, isn't it? So this is just the first data set. Sorry guys, I wanna have it a little bit clearer to myself. What's going on? Subtlety, yes. This is the second, again with the offset of -0.5, whatever, we can change that. Gives us time plus that. Scroll it down to about here. Gives us the speed, and this gives us the revs. The question is, did we make it better? Well, let's add another. Nope. We need to put something in. Time. Always nasty when you forget to put it in. And speed. There we go. All right. Thank you very much. So, okay, cool. So we made a mistake, right? We were actually worse off than we were. However, the high ref stuff is better now, but I think we really messed it up. It's really close, right here until, okay, but now after 90 miles an hour, we got nothing. So what is our revs at 90 again? 90 miles, 7.8. So it has to be a lot higher at 8-ish all the way until this point here, 760. All the way up to 4. So yes, we fixed the first bit, but we messed up the middle bit a lot. A real big amount. So it has to be higher a bit sooner, I think. So let's make that perhaps more like that. And then, yeah, well, I don't know. Let's try that. We made it worse. That's physics editing in a nutshell. Okay, fourth gear, let's go again. right? Set our ranges. Export. Ah, balls, still open. Open it again. Let's hope we're actually a bit closer now. Okay. See, we did fix it to some extent. We're still perfect here. We are losing out a bit, and we are a little bit too much at the high end. So what we did is in the right direction, because this gray line is now much closer. Here you can even see the blue. Oh, sorry, I'm messing it up. I'm comparing the wrong lines. Oh my god. Comparing myself to myself here. That's not very good. You see, that's if you ever wondered why doesn't Niels work on any of the modern high quality sims, well, you can't even figure out how a 1991 game works. Okay, I've compared it to the wrong line. Damn it, Niels. Less torque still then. Like it sort of ramps up. It really sort of weird, isn't it? So I still have too much performance. That's a little odd. And the thing is as well, just like talking and driving, talking and physics editing is not good for the talking and the physics editing. So I'm just too fast initially. Let's do this a little bit at a time. So let's go extreme. Let's make this nicely stepped, perhaps. Thousands. What was it like at 95, actually? So the high revving actually got better, right? That's good. The high revs are good. Only near the top is it a little bit too much. I can safely change that, I think. Wrong windows. So 14, 15. Let's lose a little bit more. I think this will be good for the final bit. And then it's kind of good. Our problem starts-ish at 157. 157, 13,000. So below 13,000 I need more. Which basically means the torque curve is rising more. That's what I have to do here. So I have to increase the torque and then lower perhaps something like that, maybe, and perhaps Weird curve now. Let's try this. We have more torque. We still have the same-ish power, 12.5. But we have a lot more peak torque. More than I think you would get from an engine like this in real life. Let's hope for once we are a bit closer, and let's just remove the second one. Just confusing. Let's just have one to compare with, and let's make this our target, the thick boy. Okay, saved it. Let's do it again. Fourth gear. There we go. I hope that was a good decision to increase the overall torque. I think that's needed. But that also messed this curve up a little bit shape-wise. So who knows what it actually resulted in. Export again. Hey, export. Yes. Replace. Yes, thank you for confirming. Load it again, and we'll be infinitely worse or better. Bad, you think? Wait, it's not too bad. It is bad. Okay. Infinitely worse, yes. You see, that I think I've just found out why I make physics with most of my brain focused on the physics and not on anything else. So we get a lot of acceleration here at around 100. So I guess that's probably where peak torque would be. Yeah, and that's 8-ish. Okay. The end is still not too bad. It just has to, you know, what if we... See, that's not too bad. It's just that initially too much, and then at I think the curve rises here the most at around 100, and at 100 miles an hour we're doing 80, about 9,000. So the peak torque is 9,000. Geez, this is taking a long time. Well, actually I do have peak torque at 9. Let's move it to 8, see what that does. And let's make this 30, 30, 30. What am I doing, guys? Save. And just to make sure, where do we actually... We start at around 40 something miles an hour. Okay, I'll keep that in mind when trimming the data. Oh, we're not going anywhere there. All right. You know how when like the army wants to recruit new people, they have like all flashy advertisements with jet fighters and guns and tanks and fit people. I don't think I'm doing a great job recruiting more people into physics work with this, but hey. Okay, from 40-ish. Always close the export before you can make a new one. Open. Say a prayer to whatever it is. Okay, offset is not correct, of course. Oh. You see, I'm a little bit confused now. We're not too bad for... We're still out accelerating. At 60 miles. I'm a bit confused how we can... Well, we're not out accelerating it, we just... Niels, yes, do you have a brain? No, I don't think I have a brain. What's going on here? I have no idea. Yeah, my steepness here is not high enough, so I need to accelerate more. But how can this match quite well? Yes, I need to accelerate more, that is correct. Let's just do that, and it crosses here at 80-ish miles an hour. Which is... So we have to look at the offset time, don't I? So 80 miles an hour is about 7,000 RPM. So below that I need more torque, which is the opposite of what I was doing. Okay, well that's fairly... How about that? I hope that if I wasn't streaming this, if I was actually a sensible person who focused his petite brain on the job rather than on talking along with it in a language that isn't his own, this would have cost a bit less time, I hope. Oh, what's happening? I'm going like crazy here. I did practice it a little bit a while ago and I got really good match. So turning 42 has made me a lot dumber, I suppose. Dumb and Dumber and Dumbest. Let's see, how bad will this be? Okay, so remove the data we don't have. And no offset. Hey, okay, look at that. Huh? Huh? That's good. Pretty good. I might be slightly out accelerating. I think I need a little bit smoother ramp up in torque. And a bit less at 140. A bit less torque and a bit more ramping up. A bit more ramping up at about 70 miles. So yeah, between 6 and between 6 and 9, ramping up a little bit more. 6 and 9 ramping up, so perhaps like that. Are we still going a little bit too quickly? A little bit too quickly. So we can probably say, all right, let's use 3% less. Save. We were close enough, right? But hopefully that wasn't luck and we are slightly, ever so itty bit more closely matched than the last time. Who knows? From 40-ish, component export. Always that replacement and this confirmation here. I need a drum roll sound effect, but that would not really fit the excitement that we don't have. Oh, baby! Look at that! Look at that! We've matched. Okay, well, now we can be a little bit, you know, this, I call this perfect almost. We ever so slightly behind at 90. And what are we doing at 90 miles an hour? We are doing 8,000 RPM. So I need ever so slightly more torque at 8. 8. Okay. Let's make it 100. Who knows what that does? Okay. So I went 95 to 100% for 8. And I out-accelerated ever so slightly from about 160. I keep going. Shouldn't keep going at 160 miles an hour, which means after 14,000 I need a bit less torque. 14,000. Okay, 50. 48. Let's make it. Try this again. Ooh, I'm excited now. This is definitely the most exciting content on YouTube currently. Spreadsheet Jaws. Doo-doo-doo-doo. Spreadsheet Jaws. Oh boy. Right. Have we made it even better? Let's close the old one. Component, export data, export. Yes, yes, thank you. open. How can that be? Well, need a bit of more offset. Yes, pretty much. The last little bit is not. Where are we? This little step is the old data. At 9.3 seconds. Here. That's the old data, we don't have that. I'm basically happy with that. We are still lagging ever so slightly behind at 85-ish, 87 miles an hour, almost 8,000 RPM, 778-ish. We need perhaps a little bit more torque. You know, it's very minimal. Given that I've done this now for a very long time, let's say this match we have here, we can almost not see AMS, it's overlaid almost perfectly. We have the torque curve for this. Now, you know, we're gonna get hopefully good results. But for this wing settings, we have correct matching car acceleration in 4th gear, which is not just engine torque, it's also drag and stuff. So let's hope it will extrapolate reasonably for low wing and high wing settings. We just kind of, you know, you have to pick a point, and going with average wings seems to make sense. Let's say this is a perfect match. If we spend another hour, we can make it match a little bit better at 7,000 RPM, and here perhaps we're a little bit ahead. Yeah, you know, it's fine. That means basically we can kind of conclude that this, the upper line here, this is kind of the torque curve that's in Formula 1 Grand Prix. So the DOS game, we have reverse engineered the torque curve to be this shape. And if we apply the same wing settings and the same gear ratios as we do in the DOS game, we get the same RPM, the same speed, same acceleration. But that's pretty cool. There is more, however. Engine braking. What I think I'm gonna do is just let go of the throttle. So we have drag and engine braking, and then see what the engine braking has to look like before that matches. I probably did a lot of data logging for that already. It feels nice that finally you just have to imagine or not believe that this would have taken a bit less time if I wasn't talking to you. We have engine braking in 4th gear. So this is the DOS game result of letting go of the throttle in high revs 4th gear. So let's just do that and do another overlay, and we can do this whole thing once again, although engine braking I hope it's a simpler shape, right? So just let go of the throttle in 4th gear at high RPM. And don't bump into the wall. Okay. Are you guys as excited as I am? Nope. I've always said, like, I enjoy this, weirdly, but if you want to be a footballer or something, or a Formula 1 driver, well, for a Formula 1 driver, you've got to be really good and really rich. If you want to be a footballer, you have to be extremely good, because millions of people are playing football. Pick something that nobody's doing, and automatically you're near the top. That's my advice. And the world of physics editing is not very crowded. Oh, yeah. So now we're looking at off throttle. So we know that the revs are probably fine. So I'm just going to look at speed. I'm actually going to remove that. I just want to see if the speed trace is all right. So That means exporting there. Is the one still open? It is. Component export date 10 Hertz. That's fine. Yes, thank you. All right. So here we are. Let's save this and open it again. Give us time and speed. Let's map that time and speed. So here, insert a chart for that. To the top, yeah. Let's give it an offset again so we can match it better if needed. And then this equals speed. Add a series. Time versus speed. Okay. Okay. You know, let's make it a bit bigger. So here we have speed dropping when we let go of the throttle in fourth gear. I'm just thinking out loud now, we still have an issue of acceleration. We just looked at the acceleration in fourth gear. We didn't go through the gears, so but yeah, that's probably like you would get slightly different, you know, how heavy is the car, and that affects the engine braking and the drag as well. The car is lighter, it slows down quicker. We have sharper slowdown than the game. So my engine braking could be too high, or the drag works a little differently. So if I reduce engine braking, we will get slightly closer to the target. Yeah, then there's almost no engine braking. So I think the drag is a bit high. So if I add weight to the car, I didn't think of that when doing the acceleration run, but it should just be scaling though. So I'm just thinking out loud, we could still have this match here, I think, with a heavier car, if we just move the entire torque curve up. And a heavier car would mean that it slows down less when we let go of the throttle. And currently we are dropping speed faster than the game is doing, the DOS game is doing. So perhaps if we there is probably no fuel and stuff in the old DOS game. There's no fuel use. I think it's just a single weight of the car that's constant all the time. I think. It's not too bad though, but it's at high speed, which indicates it's more drag. You know, at high speed you get more drag. So what I think I'm gonna do, or risk doing, is increase the weight of the car by the same percentage as I will increase the torque of the car. This will be interesting just to see if we can still actually get this match. You know, we're taking a bit of risk because our car is quite lightweight at 580 kilos, and we tuned the drag quite nicely. Ooh, no way. And the drag has to go up as well. You see, this is starting to get confusing now. If the car is heavier and I give it more torque and I keep the drag the same, it will have a higher top speed, so we will not get a correct match for this anymore. But currently we are seeing that we are losing speed too quickly when we let go of the throttle. And I can reduce engine braking, but I think we made possibly the wrong assumption with the weight of the car that is currently only... Oh, it does have fuel, so it is... What does the car actually weigh? Total is this, plus the fuel loads. 610 kilos for the entire thing. Let's just get rid of most of the engine braking and see what happens. -5, -5, -5, -5. So now engine braking is really low. Just see if we get a better match that way. Problem with that, engine braking being so low, look at the... see? The revs take forever to drop. But let's just do a run and see what happens if we lift off the throttle in 4th gear now. See what we get. Perhaps this gives us a better match, or we now accelerate slower than the DOS game, which will be nice because we can do a bit more engine braking. Okay, thank you very much. So that is with much reduced engine braking. Close the export again because it will complain. Let's see, we can also just load it in here first. And compare the old one and the new one. And then... it looks quite different, doesn't it? So this is with reduced engine braking. It is the black line. It's very different. So we might actually have a closer match. Hopefully we are now not slowing down quick enough, so we can bring a bit more engine braking back. Okay, that's great. Let's go to the new one again and export it to do a proper overlay. Right. Export. Yes. Try that again with reduced engine braking. Ooh. Okay, that's great. So now we don't slow down enough. That's great, because now I was afraid we had to change the weight and the drag and everything again, but now we went from slowing down too quickly to, redo, to not slowing down enough. So my engine braking has to be kind of in the middle, which is very nice, because that means we don't have to redo everything else, which was so exciting if you remember. So let's make that... Is there anything we can say already about high revs versus low revs? I have no idea if they probably... High rev seems okay, which is a little odd, because engine braking will be more at high revs. And then we say that, well, let's see. I'm just going to double the engine braking versus what we just had. Let's just close this again, otherwise I'll forget it. No thanks. 5% engine braking, let's make it 10%. And let's not do that. So more engine braking, save, and do another run, see what we are. So why so slow says, yeah, probably constant engine braking at all revs, yes, likely. And Yoshi has joined us. If you don't remember, Yoshi, he worked on the historics mod for R Factor. That I did some of the cars and Yoshi did a lot of the cars as well. And he joined us from the toilet. I think that says enough about the quality of the stream we are doing here. People are joining us from the bog. Alright, so with medium engine braking, let's first compare it here. So we have too much engine braking, too little engine braking, and in between engine braking. And then set overlay offset 1. I have to sort of overlay them as that. Okay, so it's a little in between. This could be reasonable. I'm hopeful when we export this, this might be alright. So it's the latest one. Let's just make another export and do a direct DOS comparison. Like so. Yes, I want to replace it. Thank you. Oh, we're better. We're better. Spot on at high speed. Well, you know, we're still not slowing down fast enough, but that's great. This is actually, I'm very happy, but because we end up with a fair amount of engine braking that's sort of reasonable. Let's do another 5% overall, I think. GUI, we are 6.6. Yes, 16.66% is always the right percentage. If this is a close match, you know what that means. So another run. Let's hope this does it. Close enough. Yes, we don't need the last 80-bit. There we go again. Let's open it. Bzzz. One cell fewer doesn't matter. Ooh! Do you see what I see? Pretty damn close. So I am slowing down a little bit too much. So sadly, this is not devil-powered engine braking. We need a bit less. And especially at a low speed, I'm still slowing down. So that's the nice thing there, is we can have reduced engine braking at low RPM. So I think I will start at 15 and then perhaps end up at 10, something like that. Let's try that. So we start at -15. sorry, minus 10, minus 12.5, minus 15, minus 17, no, 16. We don't need that many points, do we? We can just make this the final point. In case it breaks, I'm gonna save. So we make the final revs are 16,000. We don't need, so my VBA programmed spreadsheet here does the engine torque curve and the engine braking curve all. There's a lot of code running in the background, so I can just enter a number of points and it will create an engine braking curve, which is this bottom one here. Now we have between 10 and 15%. Well, let's have a go at this. I've got the feeling we'll be not slowing down quite enough, but again, we don't have to be super perfect, just to prove the point that we can still replicate that game. Time acceleration there, and let go. Alrighty. Open that, export it. I think this is gonna be close enough, unless we've made it worse. That's a wisdom. Is it still open? It is. I got it. Yes, thank you. Need more engine braking still. It's very good, but then I need more engine, still need more engine braking at like from 110 miles an hour. I need more engine braking, and 110 miles an hour is about there. Engine RPM 9,000, so below 9 I need a bit more, which basically means that what we did there is probably minus 15 across the board is probably fine. Final run, this should be good enough, you know. The problem with what we're doing here, apart from wasting your afternoon, wasting my afternoon, and being fairly useless, is that this is only for this condition in 4th gear, including the drag that we have there. Who knows what it will be, slightly different, it should be fairly logical. You know, what is really nice about what we are seeing in the data is that it's progressive. So F1GP, even though it's a 30-year-old game, does have aerodynamic drag modeled in such a way that it's sort of acting a lot more at high speed than at low speed. So it's not simple linear. So there is quite a bit of reasonable physics going on, proving that we can replicate it with a good physics engine, that we come up with the torque curve and the engine braking. I mean, you can actually match the curves quite well. So it's good evidence for that. Have I done a run already with this? I think, have I? I forgot. I'm stupid. Did I? What's the latest one? 24. No, I probably didn't do a run yet. So how are you doing, Yoshi? You went to the US at some point? Whereabouts are you living now and how are things going? Sport again. There we go. Yes. Okay. I hope this is close enough. Let's say close enough is fine. Look at that. Look at that. Isn't this, you know, yes, it is many things, boring and stuff. Yet, you know, when you see how we match the acceleration, which gave us the torque curve, let's call this perfect. It's not quite, but you know, kind of perfect. And now how we've matched engine braking and drag. It's so cool that with a modern sim, you can actually prove that this old 1991 game is really quite solid. Now we have pretty much the same engine braking as well. So that's really cool. Geez. Now I think I'm gonna do a scary thing. Yeah. You start to get to a point where if you tweak one thing, then you mess up something else, right? So that's the problem. I want to check, however, with automatic gears, because I also have an acceleration run here, where it auto shifts, and we can get an idea of the gear shift times, maybe see if we can match that. That sounds like fun. So all we have to do is this 32, 32. We have to make sure that gears are the default, which I think they are 24, 32, 39. Yeah, 46, 53, 61. Yeah, we have the same gears. Okay. Ah, he's back in, Yoshi is back in Spain. Automotive engineer at Seat. Oh, that's cool. Active safety testing. So I think they decided, based on the number of accidents we had with the historics mod, that you had plenty of reason to believe in some active safety equipment. So we set the shift correctly at 12.5. So what I have to do now is go with auto gears, and then we'll see if we accelerate through the gears, how close we match, and if we need a bit of grip adjustment, or if we need shift timing adjustment, or things are completely borked. Everything is possible. I expect us to, at some point, once we've matched a few things, that something else will topple over and no longer match. But let's see. Oh. She's a bit feisty there. Traction control is high. Let's change the traction control ever so slightly. I get a bit of wheel spin. Various. Where's my traction control? There we are. Save that again. See how this feels for a launch. Very short shift times now. But that's a first run. Ultimately, I'd like the speeds to match, but I'd also like the revs and stuff to be visible. So I'm going to add a couple of channels. RPM and gear. Because that's what we have available. And let's not start too quickly. Let's start at like 30 miles an hour. all the way to 190 something. Let's export these channels. Let's close the log file. Export 10 Hz is fine. For this, yeah, it's probably fine. Export, yes, thank you. All right. So now we have to actually make the charts for the acceleration gears run. So time and mile an hour, let's do that first. I know I can just do this efficiently, but who wants to do things efficiently? All right. And well, I believe the gears, let's add RPM. Add RPM, time. Revs, which is ironically the first game Geoff Crammond made. All right. Okay. Let's move this to the secondary axis. Let's have a look at chat. There are still some people here. Not too many, thankfully. Oh, Tim, I think there is no, I mean, you can just drive forever and ever in practice, and the lap times seem to be the same, and there's no fuel running out. So I'm not sure if there's any fuel use modeled or hard-coded in race mode. That will be another thing altogether that I'm not gonna do this video, if there is. I didn't know. I actually didn't do a lot of racing. It's just like the way I drive sims these days is not a lot of AI driving, more hot lapping. Okay, let's not smooth it. I like to smooth it. That one as well. So hey, this is the data for the run in the DOS game. Let's save it. Let's load what we just put out. So now we have RPM as well. We do need a little offset again. That should not be too hard. Like that, and then it gives us the time offset so we can overlay the lines. Hopefully, since ideally our torque curve is correct-ish, and our drag and stuff is correct, doing an acceleration run through the gears, which we know are the same gears, this should not be far off. Like, who knows? Speed, RPM, and let's fill these down. And let's add them. Oh boy. Also add a legend. Yeah, font. Add AMS with time, with Sapaid. Okay, and let's add AMS RPM with time and RPM. Ooh, all right. This is obviously the wrong axis. And we need an offset. Ooh, it's not quite the same, but we can still tweak this. So we are too quick in acceleration. You know, and at 14, you know, yeah, we accelerate too quickly. It seems in the first gear, it's fine. You can also see steps. So the thing we don't have here is gear shift time. I think it's 0.01 seconds. So the first thing I'm going to adjust is have a hard-coded gear shift time. Because I think it's 0.01 because it uses an H pattern shifter, and it's just how quick I can shift is how quick it will shift. So that means the gears here, let's make it, I don't know, something extreme first, 0.1 seconds. I don't know what I have to do. 0.1. Yeah, 0.1 second, hard-coded shift time. Let's do the run again. All right. Same thing. And in order for the offset to be closer, where do we start? We start at 34 miles an hour. So I don't need an offset if I zip it to we do 34-ish. All right. Well, export the data. There we go. Oh, close it first. Only just got it. Okay. Now we can load it again. So what will happen now that we are ahead in acceleration without shift times? What happens? Okay, we're closer. Shifts are not though. That's a little weird, but let's see if we need a bit of an offset. Oh, look at that, guys. That's pretty good. So the first shift from first to second happens a little sooner, despite our gear ratios being pretty much the same. So that's not perfect. There will be a little bit of wheel spin perhaps in the game, but our acceleration curve here, you can see is pretty close. More than close enough, really, I'd say. So this is pretty neat. A brief sum up of what we've done. We've made sure that based on the same acceleration curve that we get now by tweaking the torque curve and the drag, we have the same top speed-ish. We decided we didn't care too much about high rear wings. So we have the same speed versus wing settings up to about 45 wing setting. We made sure the engine braking is correct, so when we lift off the throttle, we get the same deceleration as the DOS game. So that's pretty cool. Can we do anything else? Brakes. That's an interesting one. So, yeah, brakes at low, medium, and high downforce. Well, we can try. You know, speed going down versus time with braking hard from a high speed. Did I do, ooh, clutch in, okay. It's not how you do it, but okay, I can probably do that. Let's see what happens. We got medium downforce, yes. Do I have neutral mapped? Yes, so just, okay. I really wonder what happens here. So brake and neutral. All right. No idea. I didn't do any checks on brakes at all. So this is the final thing we can do basically in this comparison. There we are. Let's zoom that in a bit more. Component export. Save. Yes, I don't need the other things actually, but that's not too important. Time and speed is all I need. I'm a bit afraid, guys, that this will not be ideal. We do see that these are the plots from the DOS game. At high downforce, the lowest line, we slow down quicker. And at low downforce, there's not a big difference. And strangely, the difference doesn't seem to be at high speed, where the downforce would matter the most. So I doubt that we can make this match too well. Perhaps it just means that the brakes are like topping out, like what you get with a lot of some AMS cars as well, where you can have 100% braking and not lock up the tires. So we might have to experiment with that. Just let's see first how this first run went. I'll add a legend here. So, oh, it's already, okay. LDF. All right, and then we add AMS MDF. Time. Yeah, where are we? Okay, okay. Time versus speed. Oh, yeah, with an offset that we have. Ah! Okay. Okay. Forgot the offset. We'll do the offset now. Okay. These brakes are the same. I'm very surprised. This is amazing. Offset. Well, as amazing as a 2, 3, however long our spreadsheet stream can be. Which is not that exciting. It takes a special kind of person to find this exciting. I'm that one. I'm the guy. Speed. All right, move it down. And now we can change this to actually use these numbers. All right, well, that's too much. Damn! This is really, really cool and not expected at all. Jeez. Let me add a bit of explanation here. Oh, did I press the clutch then? Yeah, I did. And we are matching the medium downforce, so let's add a legend just to... So we are comparing the medium downforce orange-ish line, that's from the DOS game, versus the yellow line, which is now medium downforce. So that's very, very close. That's amazing. I didn't think that would happen at all. Now we just have to do it for low downforce. High downforce isn't the same, right? The maximum downforce we decided not to care about because the top speed drops off so much. So I'm just going to do low downforce, do another braking run, and yeah, it's cool. The offset, well, it's just a time offset to make the overlay. So if I just copied and pasted the data with 0, see, now my line is offset. I want to match them by giving it a little offset in time. We can make it start at 200 miles an hour, that they equal there. And then you can see an actual overlay. So because the data logging is never quite perfect, I might do a couple miles an hour quicker or slower, or press the brake a bit later, or log the data window that I copy and paste is not quite the same. That's why a little offset creates the starting point to be equal. So this is perfect, and now I just have to do it at low downforce and hope we match the blue line. Okay, easy enough. I will hand out participation awards at the end, yes. Okay, we are straight enough. Clutch in. Brake. Oof. Who knows? I hope this isn't bad. So here is the data again. It's not a big difference, I don't think, but we'll see. We'll see. I'll put that here. Put another offset in case we need it. And then this is just that. Okay, cue the Jaws music again. Do-doom. Do-do-do-do-do-doom. We have offset time versus that. Okay, these are confusing colors. Let's make them dotted. And this one as well. And now we need an offset. Jeez, look at that. So, yeah. Close enough for the girls I go out with, as AVE would say. So, there is a slight difference, but it's very close to the DOS game. So, in low downforce, we have a bit less braking grip than a medium downforce. And where the dotted lines is AMS. And these continuous lines are from the DOS game. You can see it's a near perfect match actually. So the brakes are now identical. The acceleration is close enough regarding engine torque and very close regarding going through the gears. So in a straight line, acceleration and braking and lifting off the throttle, we have copied the Formula 1 Grand Prix DOS game perfectly. Although we've only looked at this medium downforce, right? And indeed, it confirms actually that Formula 1 Grand Prix, even though it's a very old game, did do a reasonable job of implementing aerodynamics and how it increased drag, how it increased grip. So yeah, and now that we have those numbers, we can actually C, for example, oh, let's just add it here. Let's remove the gear and add G-force. So it's about 4G of peak braking, 3.8-ish, going down with speed. So the way the G-forces drop is very related to the brakes, and well, a thing in the sim that we have is load sensitivity. That's not gonna be in the game tire load sensitivity. So as far as matching what I can match, I think this is all. I don't think there is something like lateral G-force and stuff in the physics engine. It's certainly not logged by the game and the scary 1995 software that somebody wrote for it, so we cannot see other things than this. But almost perfect acceleration, gear shifts, perfect torque curve, top speed matched for low downforce to about 45, brakes matched. So that's really cool. This is all I can do really to match it, and the rest becomes sort of subjective. Oh, Grant Reeve even. That's he's probably still at iRacing. Is he still at iRacing? Cool guy. I think Grant Reeve was also the guy who mostly programmed the Direct 3D plugin for Grand Prix Legends, which is the only reason we can still play it today. Because it was Grand Prix Legends was in that weird era of early 3D acceleration. There was no DirectX 9 yet. You know, it was all very sort of temperamental. You can get DOS games to work perfectly with DOSBox most of the time. New stuff, like even 98, 99 games, typically run DirectX new enough that it still works. Like Unreal Tournament still works fine on my modern system. There's that little itty bit of in-between area, like 96, 97, 98, early 3D accelerated games are hard to get to work. And Grant Reeve wrote a plugin or a Direct 3D 7 plugin for Grand Prix Legends, which made it go into the current century. Jeez. Okay. Right. Do we want to see some actual, things are going well? Do we want to end on a low by actually driving this car, tweaking it a bit more, do a few laps on tracks? Let me know if you do like to see that. I need a tiny little break. Let me see. We need it to drive. Okay, well, I'm gonna take a 5-minute break before we do. I hope you can forgive me for needing a little refresher. Let's see. Can I do what professional streamers do? I think I can. Can I add text? Oh, text. All right. Oh, I'm typing text, which is very white. Hang on, I can do this. I can probably do this. Yes. Select font. How about color? Can I select a color? This is going to take very long. Pick a font. How about yes. Okay, let me see if I can actually do something smart. Let's Whee! There we are. Okay guys, I'll be back in about 5 minutes, right? Then we'll do some driving. See you later. So, short break indeed. Well, let's save this. We don't need this anymore. We don't need this anymore. We will need this, probably. I'm gonna do a bit of keyboard driving, not with the wheel. That's gonna be too complicated. In fact, we're gonna check out what the steering help does in AMS. Because there was some form of steering help made in R-Factor. That's actually probably not entirely stupid. So we'll see what that does. I know that I probably want to reduce the brakes a little. Something like that. We can still get the real data like that with slightly reduced brakes. And let's just have a, oh wait, no. Yes, so we wanna shift up, shift down, blip. Okay. General, save. This will not drive nicely. I predict that because the steering help and stuff, this is where it will fall short of let me actually run this full screen. So this will not work too well. The typical handling of the old game, the track modeling and stuff is so different from a modern sim that even though we've matched so many things, it will still feel way different because we didn't do anything regarding cornering and steering response. But who knows, right? we might get something that works fairly well. Let's run it 1080p. Controls, we have that. We have upshift, downshift. I think that's fine. Running traction control and ABS. Well, let's go to Imola. Ideally, we run the game at 25 frames per second. So let's go with, I don't know, medium wings. Things like balance with wings and stuff, we haven't done any of that. Oh boy. There we go in auto gears now. So we've got no steering help. That's gonna be bad. Let's do that. Difficulty. Yes. Steering help low. That's all pretty fine. I can shift my own gears. Oh, that steering help is very twitchy. Steering help is helping, it's not helping. We're off. Ah, fake. There are no gravel sounds. Okay, steering help is a little twitchy. I think what we can do... We never need more than like 13 degrees. We could also probably... reduce these rates quite a bit. I think they ramp up. If you press the throttle, it ramps up a bit in the game. And some speed sensitivity. Speed, like the driving aids, the steering help in the game was actually very good because you didn't have to tap the keys. You would still have control over where the car went. You really should, well, anybody who's watching probably did play the original game. But the steering help was quite a big feature. It apparently came in revs, in one of the later developments of revs. But the steering help enabled you to sort of follow the line, but you still had to start steering at the right point, sometimes let go at the right point. Still very challenging, but not, you know, you cannot really steer perfectly with the keyboard, tapping it and stuff like that. So I think the steering help worked best in Formula 1 Grand Prix. And since Grand Prix 2 was more advanced in the physics department, didn't work, in my opinion. Steering and braking felt very wooden with keyboard on Grand Prix 2 because I guess the physics were too advanced. I've never done anything for AC. I think there are a couple of people who are pretty good at messing with AC and the physics can be probably very good. I'd say possibly equally good as AMS can be. But before you get into a new sim, work out how everything works and create your spreadsheets and everything, it's going to be a huge amount of work. I don't think there is a lot of benefit in AC. I actually think a few things are probably done better in AMS than in AC, but then perhaps a few other things might be better in AC than they are in AMS. But and of course, well, the graphics they say are better, but who cares? Okay, less steering lock. I thought it would lift for me for the upshifts, but it seems to not do that. Should lift for the upshifts, it doesn't. Ooh, understeer. So even though this is in almost no way, you would say, the same as the DOS game, it's actually the same in acceleration and braking and gear ratios. It's all 1-to-1. There's slightly better graphics. It's not often that you get to say that AMS has better graphics than the other thing you're doing. Ooh, twitchy. You hear a bit of tapping. That's steering help isn't quite the same as it was in the old DOS game. It is fairly drivable. Steering is a little sluggish. Oh, we're going round, he says, just after he says it's drivable. There is no turnaround gear. Overall, this isn't too bad. In fact, it's quite playable. There's just something about Formula 1 Grand Prix. I think I will... Well, I'm running out of holiday time. I want to try it with a modern wheel and pedals. To see what it feels like. But there's just something about the original F1GP that it's sort of meant to be played with a keyboard, really. The throttle is, even with the high traction control, quite aggressive. It is drivable, actually. Ooh. Aggressive on the traction control. Well, not aggressive enough. It's still quite ferocious. Ooh. Yep. Nope. 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 Smoke effects, imagine those in 1991. Right, so that is not bad for a first run. How does it look? Oh, I think with the car needs a little bit of vertical offset. we can do that, make the 3D part a little higher. Oh, my driver name. I was annoyed with the game and I've named myself Bubs. Butts. See more butts. Ha! Pretty cool. Okay, I'm gonna make a couple... I'm starting to enjoy it now. I'm gonna make a few more changes. So it's not like the previous hours were not enjoyable. But driving it is always sort of a satisfaction, right? A few things I will have to do. This is still based on the sim version that I drove in my last video. What we need is a bit of vertical offset. What we also have to do is get rid of any sort of tires. Yeah, we don't want temperature to have any effects. That's cool. How are we grip-wise? Front and rear is probably fine. I haven't checked my aero. See what we've got. So let's just have a quick look at aero balance. With low wings. Oh, that's actually not too bad. 35% front. Let's make it a little more. Wait, what? Oh yeah. So we have 40% front downforce now. And let's just make sure that at higher wings we still have 40-ish. That means at high wings we need a bit more downforce on the front. This is only downforce, not drag, so I should not be messing with the overall car performance. Give it a bit more downforce. So now we have the same aero balance, which is a bit more on the nose. Default wings, let's make that 33, and let's double check. 40%, all right, that's probably okay-ish. But I do not want any downforce lost with yaw, for example. We don't want that. We also don't want this weird behavior. So now the arrow isn't affected by yaw as much. We don't want lift when we go sideways. So that should help, hopefully. A bit of that. So when we go sideways, we don't lose arrow. We might cheat, you know, if it's too hard. Yeah, about too hard. The various. Doing this from memory is a little tricky. I think this has to be lower. So traction control interferes a bit more. Did I change anything to the tires? Yes, that means, oh, we also already have to restart. Okay. Alright, we also use less steering, or to make that the default. 12, it felt a little too sluggish. Bit more speed sensitivity. Oh yeah, it doesn't lift. I think I can quickly change that. I don't actually, not actually sure. Oh, yeah, that's the one. We're bottoming a bit. Actually a thing in Grand Prix 2, but not in Grand Prix 1. Still a bit twitchy on the steering. But traction control is a bit less violent. Oh, a bit less. We also have downshift protection, which the game didn't have. You could just hammer the downshifts. Feels more like the DOS game now that we simplified it more. Ooh, look at that momentum. That's, oh sorry, there's a turn there, Niels. What it feels like in the DOS game is that the car just instantly turns, so we might have to change. Is there, ooh, that's not good, that's very bad. Is there medium? No, just low, high and full. Okay, what does high do? Let's see what high steering help. Oh, what's that? Oh, we're definitely bottoming, we should fix that. I don't really notice the difference between low and high steering help. Hi Sam. Car is bottoming. We may have added a bit of downforce there as well. One of the things I don't think they had to worry about with Grand Prix with this original game. But in GP2 there's actually plank wear, so the car does bottom. It's I think the last big step Crammond did with the physics was for GP2, and GP3 and 4 were sort of slightly different, mostly the same. But the difference between Formula 1 Grand Prix and GP2 is quite large, I think. Springs and dampers and all those things you could add, change. In many ways Grand Prix 2 is very, very impressive. Whoa. Okay, well, subjectively, it's not my incredible skill, it cannot be, but that's alright. Perhaps we can use a bit more speed sensitivity, and I'm thinking to get a more immediate response, we have to lower the yaw inertia. Or, yeah, who knows, safe. So that might make it react more. I might also increase the rear tire stiffness, that it needs less slip angle, so the car doesn't yaw as much. It feels very on rails in the original game, so I think the slip angles, there are no slip, I don't think there are there slip angles in Formula 1 Grand Prix? Who knows? Oh, that reacts quicker. Steering help is not as smooth as it was in the DOS game, but I cannot reprogram that for many reasons. Oh, that feels a lot better. There's less rotating inertia. It's more direct. Well, this will be 1991, Guido. So the Ferrari and Williams would have pedal shift, and the rest would still be manual H pattern. Yeah, I think McLaren followed in 92. I'm surprised how well this handles actually. Sort of too twitchy, but sort of reminiscent of the old game. Yeah. So if I could do this in the old game, you could just keep the turn right key pressed and you wouldn't go off. Here you will go off. So you need a bit more tapping. Oh, still goes on the power quite violently. It feels a bit more like Grand Prix 2 did with the keys. It's a bit more wooden, simply I think because Grand Prix 2 had a lot more going on with physics and it struggled to make it playable with the keyboard. Oh, and of course AMS is physics-wise still a modern sim, so it also does a lot more under the hood than the 1991 DOS game. This is enjoyable. So what I will do, I can go on forever, but oh. Yes, just keep the throttle there. Oh, tricky. The steering help just needs to be ever so slightly better. Well, actually, Tim, I think Grand Prix 2 was more like a revolution because it added springs, dampers, ride height, telemetry. Whereas I think this is still based to some extent on revs. You'll probably find more revs code in here than, well, not this is AMS, but F1GP was more based on revs than GP2 is based on F1 Grand Prix, I think. Not being a pro. Oh, this is evidence, guys, that this is a perfect mod now, because I was shifting down hoping to get the turnaround gear, which we don't have. I cannot downshift as quick as I'd like to. More realistic than the original game, where you can really just downshift like crazy. Oh yeah, there's no turnaround here. Cool. Well, it's already not bad, but I can tweak this for much longer. I think I have to go out for a little bit, you know. We're now spending 4 hours indoors staring at a screen while the rain and storm and thunder isn't happening. I think I'll go out for a bit. This was an insanely stupid stream that some people watched, so that tells you something about you. What have we done? Well, we've managed to recreate Formula 1 Grand Prix in a modern, don't at me, AMS is modern, sim, where we managed to get the brakes to be just as the real thing. We had the top speed matched for low and medium and semi-high downforce. We have the engine braking perfectly accurate to the real DOS game. We have an acceleration run through the gears where we're almost identical with how we build up speed. We have an exact torque curve, so I think we've done as much to objectively copy that old DOS game into AMS. It's a testament to how well the game was programmed in 1991, that it does a huge simplification of reality, but still has things like aero and drag going in a certain way, and a torque curve that, you know, might make sense. You can still replicate it with a good physics model. So exactly, flight is $3. That's right, we are obviously the cool people. So it was a very cool thing to do. I could tweak it more, I think I will. And I might make like a really short video with the outcome. I will also contact the guys who made the mod if they want these physics in the end to use them in the game. Then why not, you know? This would be nice if it feels more like the original, perhaps, if that's what they are going after. So I will get in touch with the mod guys, or they can contact me, see if we can update the mod with a more accurate DOS physics. Thank you guys for wasting an afternoon, and yeah, I'll go out for a little bit. Bye bye, thanks for watching, cheers. Stop screaming. Oh no, streaming, yeah, that's the same button-ish. Matt, yeah, GP4 might be a little tricky. You probably can find guides online how, if you can still run it. I think it should probably work. It's like 2000-ish, so who knows? That should not be in that weird zone. GP3 is probably a bigger issue. But you know, check around on the Google tends to have some tips on how to get these old games to run. So again, guys, or yeah, well, if you have any more, I'm still here. So if there are a few questions, you can still ask them. Water. Might as well make this a 10-minute or 5-minute ask me anything regarding whatever. Why are you still here? That's my question to you. Why are you here? What has happened in your life that you've reached the pinnacle of knowing what true entertainment is? Oh yeah, and before I go, GP Labs, look at that channel on YouTube. He does long races in old games with commentary. He does a better and better job. It's actually really good. And Ted Mead is also a Finnish guy. He does a lot of races in old sims. And Tim as well from Race Sim Central is starting to do his old games again. I will send him my Thrustmaster T2 wheel later so he can be even worse at the games. So there is a bit of I think a resurrection over the last year or so in old school gaming. And this is just a weird thing that makes very little sense, making the old physics, copying the old physics in a new game. All right. I'll leave it there. If I can find the stop button. Oh, Paul comes in with the last minute question. Well, Paul, with the limitations of the 90s, you have to remember that what we are used to now, like entering numbers with how many decimal points, it's all the physics are done by the floating point unit, floating point instructions, where you can have like 15 decimal point accuracy. That's how physics engines work. But there was no floating point unit on a 386. And there wasn't one on a 486. Perhaps on the DX models there was. But the floating point instructions that are needed to do actually high resolution accurate numbers and physics number crunching, they weren't on the 386 and probably not on the 486. Quake, the first real 3D shooter after Doom, basically you needed a Pentium because the Pentium had a better floating point unit and it could run it at 12 frames per second, where 486 would run it at 4 frames per second. So you could have a floating point unit like a maths coprocessor in a 386, 486, but nobody had that. So you wouldn't make a game require a floating point unit that nobody had. So I think it all came down to integer maths, so just whole numbers. And then you have to be very clever. And you cannot really use physics formulas as much. You have to sort of normalize things, turn them into very clever, I think, in integers. So you're just dealing with real numbers. And you have to sort of build your physics engine around that. As well, you know, the speed of a 386, even for integer maths, will be horrifically slow compared to any 20-year-old laptop you have. And with no 3D acceleration, the CPU was very busy for the graphics as well. Like a 386 doing graphics was too much already. Yeah, so without floating point, with very limited CPU cycles and weirdly adapted physics engines to work in, I think, in integer maths, you just didn't have reality at all for that reason, I think. Good question though, smart. And the answer is made up, but hopefully partially correct. In sort of going on from that, now they, of course, have quick systems now and look at Live for Speed, look at R Factor, early 2000s. I've said it before, I don't think nowadays your physics are limited by the PC. I think now it's a matter of tooling and good numbers that go in order to make good sim come out. I still think that AMS and driver training simulations still sometimes use it. There's no reason why iRacing or RF2, despite being more complicated, are necessarily better than AMS. The models are more complicated, but they're also difficult to work with and people don't understand. And at some point there's a crossover where the weak point is the people entering the numbers and making the engines and no longer the CPU power available. Yeah, I think, Paul, I'm not exactly sure. I don't know my programming, but I do know that there's no floating point units on, like floating point maths couldn't really be done well quickly on 386, 486 systems. Anyway, guys, that's gonna be it. Thanks for watching this, and again, I'll contact the mod guys. Perhaps we'll release something if they want this updated version. I might tweak it a bit more in my off hours, see if I can get that subjective keyboard handling to be closer to the game. And if I just can find my OBS window, stop screaming!